Hi everyone, Alexandra Jarrett, Jupiter Returns here with your weekly astrology forecast for the week of the 14th to the 20th of September 2020. I hope this finds you all well. It was a super intense weekend. At the end of a super intense week, as I'm sure you don't need me to point out for you, we had Mars turning retrograde and Jupiter turning direct. So a couple of changes on the board. This is at the end of Monday that I'm recording this. Mars retrograde has had some, thrown a couple of spanners in the works for me, as I'm sure it has for a number of us out there, particularly those of us with lots of planets in the cardinal signs. So Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And also anyone with Scorpio rising, that would make Mars the ruler of your chart. So these are the people that are going to be feeling it the most, more of the Mars retrograde stuff showing up. But what we've experienced moving through Monday the 14th, the thing we've been enjoying the most today has been a really helpful aspect between the Sun here in the sign of Virgo, making a trine. So a really easy flow, a nice, easy connection between the Sun in Virgo and the Pluto there in the fellow Earth sign Capricorn. So when the Sun and Pluto trine like this, it's an easy flow of energy, and that may have made us feel a little bit more powerful today. May have given us a kind of a boost in terms of knowing that we can achieve bigger, greater, more impactful things. Also, it may have shone the light into what we need to change, and given us a feeling like it's doable. We can make this happen. We can make this change happen. Anything that we feel that we need to transform, it's given us a boost to that essentially, and made us feel like, yeah, we can take on these big problems, and we can really come to turn them into something better, to really be able to transform ourselves. So really, really helpful energy that we've had today. It may also have assisted you to have more influence. If you've been in a situation today where you've needed to have influence over people, that could have been supported as well. But generally just understanding what needs to be changed and feeling good about your chances of being able to bring that transition about. That's kind of had in the background, and this could in a roundabout way also be supportive. We've had building through the day, and this will strengthen into Tuesday the 15th, when it's going to perfect. This is a square aspect between Venus in a fire sign right now and Leo, so a slightly more, let's say, dramatic or playful or, you know, performing way with our Venusian quality, our way of connecting with other people, friendships, pleasure, art, all of these kinds of things. They may have taken on an extra kind of passion to them, a little bit of extra fire with Venus moving through Leo. Now, what she's been building into, which perfects on Tuesday, is this square aspect to Uranus in Venus-ruled Taurus. So there's a couple of things to bear in mind with this. Firstly, it's a tense aspect, so there may be potential outcomes that we don't particularly want. So things like if you have something romantic planned, plans with anything with dating or romance involved, with this being Leo, things may go not according to plan, okay? Because Uranus is shocks and surprises and the unforeseen in general. It generally likes to, it kind of likes to upset the apple cart, really, does Uranus. It likes to just be a bit different and a bit awkward and not really kind of go with the flow of how you want things to be. So there could be some kind of shocks or surprises around that. Similarly with Beauty, anything related to beauty, probably not the best day to go and get a tattoo or something like that. It generally is going to show up in those kinds of ways, but it could also be useful. That square being a provocative energy might be the push that we need to just really find the core authentic truth of our personal values, which is what Venus rules. So this can be about how we value ourselves, our self-worth. It could be around money issues, perhaps what we charge for our services, for example, the wage we accept that we get paid for in the workplace. All sorts of worth and value issues. So with this provocative, irritating aspect over to destabilizing Uranus, it's trying to say, okay, what's the truth? What's the core truth? And perhaps it's not something that you've quite realized about yourself. And Uranus may just kind of break through any boundaries, any hindrance, any confusion that there may be. And it may kind of present you with a situation where you suddenly think, actually, you know, I feel like this about this. You come to a kind of an inner awakening moment about something in connection with your own personal values and worth. And that can be a really wonderful thing. Sometimes we need a wake-up call in those areas of life, right? Human beings, sometimes we need a bit of a sharp stick poking at us to make us kind of go, aha, oh, I get it, right? So Uranus may show up with some shocks and surprises, but ultimately it's trying to awaken us to our core worth and our core value. So watch out for that in Tuesday. That may also have the potential for there being some bumps and surprises in, for example, the stock markets, or something to do with food and other resources like that. But there's not too much else going on around that, but it could show up that way. I think it's going to be more of a personal thing though, more of an inner process. So then as we go into Wednesday, the 16th of September, this is the day of Mercury. Mercury rules Wednesdays. We're going to have the moon will have now completed the journey in Leo and moves into Virgo. We'll take away this trine aspect now. So the moon in Virgo, she's really, as you can see, closing up her cycle. Really, these are the last moments of the current lunar cycle before she moves into the new moon later in the week. So this is the time of really letting go, really leaving the old behind, ready to make space for something new to move into. So if we do have a slight rude awakening over here, then this is the perfect time for it to happen, for us to say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to show up in life. You know, I'm not going to perform on the stage of life, which is what Leo likes to do. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to leave this behind with me now. The moon, as she shrinks down, can remove this and I'll set new intentions with the new moon. So Wednesday, moon moving into Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury, so even more Mercury energy around. And Mercury on this day, in the sign of Libra here, is going to start forming a provocative square aspect to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter's only just stationed to go direct. And as you hear me talk about a lot, when a planet stations either to go into retrograde motion or to go direct, that's when they're at their most potent. So Jupiter's very potent, and there's a lot of Mercury kind of energy out there. What we've got here is Jupiter in a hard aspect like this tends to show up as excess, okay, more of, and not always in ways that we might perhaps like. with Mercury, this is about our thinking processes and also our way of communicating and conversing with other people, interacting with other people. So this could play out in terms of being a little bit over optimistic, or just over, too much of something in conversation and interaction with other people. Okay. It can be just a general increase in mental activity and just busyness in general. Mercury is a very busy planet. He's like, I want to be over here 1 minute and over there the next, and do a bit of this and do a bit of that. So with the excess of Jupiter, we might find ourselves, really all over the place, doing lots and lots and lots of things, or certainly having lots and lots of thoughts going on, lots of mental activity if it's not showing up physically. So busyness, the exuberance, let's call it, of Jupiter might make us a little bit sort of overbearing, overconfident in the way that we're interacting with others as well. So just watch out for that. Probably not a good time for doing anything that requires a lot of detail. Okay, Mercury generally likes the finer detail of things, and with Jupiter, he's bigger, grander, prefer to just kind of skim over. He's more into the concept and the big idea. So you're more likely to kind of skip over or overlook important details and not really pay attention to the words that you're using perhaps as well. So any very important conversations, I'd leave those. Any important documents that you need to pass any kind of judgment on, read them very, very carefully. If you've got no option but to sign them, be super careful, get it checked many times if you can by different sets of eyes, and just avoid, anything that really needs a lot of fine detail if you can. Then we're moving into Thursday, and Thursday is when we have the new moon. So this is the Virgo new moon. It's an earth sign, and it's taking place at 25 degrees of Virgo. So if you know where Virgo is in your chart, that's the house. I use a whole sign house system, which means that each sign of the zodiac wheel represents one whole house in your chart. So where Virgo shows up in your chart, that's the house that you're setting new intentions for. You're planting some seeds. And this is a very, very powerful new moon in terms of manifesting. The reason being is that it has an exact trine aspect, so easy flow of energy, up to Capricorn, fellow earth sign. So seeds need to be planted in earth, ideally, for them to grow. And the aspect is exactly to 25 degrees of Capricorn, which is where Saturn is at the moment. So Saturn represents things that endure, things that take a long time, but are very strong, are very reliable, very tenacious. It's very practical energy. All of this is, Virgo is super practical anyway. Saturn, Capricorn, very practical, very grounded, and very much about the material. So if we're trying to manifest something into our material reality, this really is one of the best kinds of connections that you could find for a new moon. I absolutely love this new moon. Virgo is all about our service to other people, okay? It's also about our health. So you may wish to plant some new seeds relating to your health and generally how you look after yourself, okay? In your day-to-day organization, do you make time for proper nutrition? Do you make time for exercise? Have you had a checkup at the dentist recently? Have you, been to the osteopath? All of these things. But primarily, I think, and particularly with this connection to Capricorn, it speaks to the aspect of Virgo, which is about how we show up in service to other people. So I think there's some really core questions that we need to ask ourselves. I've looked at the full moon that this relates to. So when a new moon starts off, 6 months later, we get the full moon in that sign. So what will happen is the sun will take 6 months to go all the way around and will be over here in Pisces, okay, in 6 months' time. And we'll have a full moon showing up there with some really, really, really helpful, supportive connections to the planet Uranus, okay, which is all about change. So we'll have a sextile from the sun and a trine from Uranus. So this is all about being a force for change, okay, doing things differently, breaking the mold. And we're moving into a very Aquarian time. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. And by the time this new moon becomes full in February next year, we'll have a lot of energy going on in Aquarius. So this is a wonderful opportunity for us to just start easing our attention into the Aquarian kind of age, if you like, and to actually start doing some work with it, which is what Capricorn loves. So back to the present day then, we've got the Virgo new moon. We know how it's going to show up when it comes to its fullness. And we know we have this wonderful connection up to Saturn right now. So the questions I think that it's important for us to answer then, you may find this helpful. In terms of service to other people, what part have I played in the current structure? Okay, Saturn is the current system, the current structure. As we know, things are being broken down there. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction at the start of the year brought about this huge crisis that we're all going through, that's really exposing up to the surface all the cracks, all the wrongness, all the parts of the current system that just aren't fit for purpose anymore, okay? And we have to, at this point, I believe, say, okay, what part have I played in that situation? And then that begs the question, so what part do I want to play in the future? We remember those connections to Uranus. Uranus is all about the future. Uranus wants to dream outside the box and create something really, really, really futuristic and inventive and real like breakthrough ideas. So this is really saying, how have I shown up? What part have I played in terms of my service to others? Have I played in the current system? And how do I want to show up in service to others as we move forward out of Capricorn and into Aquarius, the Aquarian age, which is more about working together as a tribe, all of humanity working together as a tribe, not in competition with each other anymore, not in a hierarchical system anymore, but actually as a circle, as the tribe, as equals. This is all about equality and fairness. It's all about, you know, society and how we work with each other, how we collaborate, essentially. So those are some really interesting thoughts to sort of just put a little bit of framework around this beautiful, beautiful new moon that has so much powerful manifesting energy present within it. So I really hope you'll be able to take advantage of that and look at the longer term. That's the other thing about Saturn. You know, it's really about doing things that are for the long term, not a quick flash in the pan. This is what I'm thinking about this month. You know, when Saturn moves into Uranus at the winter solstice, Saturn and Jupiter will come together and start a 20-year cycle in that sign. You know, we've got to start thinking long term. And this energy is really going to help us tap into that. So as we move then into Friday and over throughout the weekend then on the 18th through to the 20th, what we have coming through is we have a building square aspect. Off the back of this quite powerful new moon, we've got Mercury building into a square with Pluto. So this is going to perfect on Sunday afternoon, but we'll feel the applying as these two planets get closer and closer and closer to being in perfect square to each other. It's what we call applying, and we feel that building up within us. So this really lends to deep, which is Pluto, thinking, which is Mercury. All right, it's a lot of introspection, and around a new moon time we generally feel the need to withdraw anyway, because the energy is pulling us within at the new moon to be guided by our inner world. That's where our messages come from. Messages come from outside, okay, at a full moon, usually through interactions with other people, the opposition. But when the sun and the moon are together, it's more about going within, and the messages come to you from yourself and your connection to source. So lots of introspective kind of energy around. So particularly with Saturn, it's always a good idea to just spend some time alone, spend some time on your own. You usually tend to do better that way. But yeah, deep thinking, deep conversations, even if you're not feeling particularly introspective, with Venus in Libra, it can lead to, Mercury in Libra, it can make us want to have more conversations with our friends, with Libra being ruled by Venus. So really, really deep and meaningful conversations, nothing like really superficial. Pluto doesn't like, it doesn't want to have a conversation about the weather. It wants to know, what sets your soul on fire. It wants to know, what did you do in your past life? It wants to go deep, super deep. So this is a wonderful time to have those deep conversations and deep introspections. Great time to explore the shadows a little bit, but be prepared that, then we may come across some gloomy territory. We may come up against some shadows in a tense way. This is a square aspect after all. So let's try and use the Libran influence there to just balance things out and bring a bit of grace into the scenario. Libra is the most graceful of all of the signs. The balance and the Venus energy that she carries, the kind of beauty that she offers is not the kind of the touchy-feely Taurus kind of, because Taurus is also ruled by Venus. So Taurus wants to have the senses involved with beauty and pleasure. Whereas Libra, being an air sign, there's a slight removal, there's a slight distance, a slight detachment, and therefore that carries an element of grace with it. So trying to bring some balance and grace into this depth, and some understanding and compassion, and just kind of seeing things from all angles. Be prepared also to put some of this dark, the shadowy dark depths under scrutiny. Okay, like don't just accept things at face value, at surface value, and Pluto doesn't do that anyway. But this is kind of like saying, let's scrutinize the hell out of this, particularly if it's something that we find repulsive about ourselves. If there's something that we really can't stand, then it's kind of a time to not be afraid to really scrutinize that and say, okay, how much truth is there in this? You know, really ask all the questions, do all the probing, scrutinize it. You know, Mercury is, it's like I'm saying, you know, it's all about scrutiny, but also be prepared that in your interactions with other people, that's going to come under scrutiny as well. So if you're putting something out there in quite a powerful or an intense way, be prepared to have it questioned. And I think that's a really good thing, and I think we should be doing that more. Not in a challenging or combative way, but just in a way that says, okay, let's all take a little bit more responsibility, Capricorn and Saturn, for the powerful influence that we have on other people. And one of the ways that we do have a lot of power and influence over other people is what we communicate. Yeah, what we share perhaps on social media, let's say, you know, with the Libra connection there, what we share with our friends. You know, the clickbait headlines of newspapers often lead us to think one thing, but if you actually take the time to read the article, so often it gets revealed as just being precisely what it is. It's a manipulation, Pluto, it's clickbait. So let's start taking a little bit more responsibility and be prepared to be questioned and scrutinized in that way as well. And that's a good thing, because that's gonna prevent us making that mistake again. You know, that's the whole point of lessons, isn't it? You know, we don't want to go through the difficult things more than we have to. So a powerful week, a very introspective week, a week when we can do some real deep diving into ourselves. And as I say, I'd really recommend using this energy to start to do some of the work that we're going to be moving into, or at least just turn our attention into, you know, the future where we're moving beyond 2020, and make some decisions about, you know, what we're going to leave behind and who we're going to be showing up in this future age. I really hope that has been useful for you. Please support me, support my channel, help me get the message out to other people. Astrology, as you know, is incredibly empowering. It's my absolute passion, and I would love for more and more people to understand it. So by supporting me, by liking, loving, commenting and sharing, you're really helping just to expand the reach of astrology. And thank you so much to everyone who does that sort of week in and week out and shows up and in support for me. It really is absolutely appreciated to the maximum. Have a beautiful week, and I will see you soon. Take care. Have a wonderful new moon. Bye.